Everybody hates The Rock. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Sonic Movie Show, the only show that reviews every single video game movie under the sun and beyond the stars. My name is Ethan, and with me, under the sea, is Devin.
I'm wasting breath talking to a phantom.
I say that when I wake up, talk to myself every morning. I look over at my
Because
nightstand.
your house is haunted, actually. So you
Yes,
are
and I
actually
see a
talking to
ghost
phantom.
there. Yes. Hey folks, hi, it's me, Ethan. Over there is Devin. Hey, we reviewed video game movies before in the past, and we're here to do it again. This time, we watched for your entertainment, whether positive or negative. Entertaining is entertaining. Iron Lung, the 2026 film by Markiplier Studios, I believe, is what I saw.
I
Pop up
mean,
on
it's
there.
pretty much, it was all self-funded from him and
Right.
I'm sure some other friends. But yes, I mean, I guess you could call it his own. I mean, I think the production company was really Iron Lung Productions. I think I saw at the
Oh,
end. So
okay.
I think this was a literal one shot. It was like we're making a product, like whatever we got to do on the business
Right.
side, paperwork side to get it done. Sure, that's at least what I remember seeing in the
Yeah,
credits. But
yeah. Yeah, and this is based off of a video game from a couple years ago, also titled Iron Lung, and I will admit, I had never heard of this game until we did the episode talking about movies coming out this year, and you brought it up. I was like, oh, and you said it was a fad, or not a fad, is like derogatory, but like, there it had a moment, and I was like, I never heard of this thing in my life. And then knowing it was it was a horror game in a submarine, I was like, okay, I can see that. I mean, hey, you know what? This is very similar to a horror video game that made Markiplier's career. We call it Five Nights at Freddy's, where you are trapped in a room, and I could easily I imagined what that game was in there. It turns out it's probably a little bit different. I still haven't looked at what the game is, but what this movie is, I was like, oh, am I watching the right? Am I walking in the right theater here? But is it supposed to be somewhere else? Because I didn't look up anything about this movie at all ahead of time. So I came in woefully underprepared to the movie,
woefully.
wokefully underprepared, and dark wokefully overprepared. But what about you, Devin? Were you as woke as me?
Well, I'm
Fuck
always
ice,
trying
by
to
the way,
outwoke you. Yeah, fuck it.
and
Gotta
Israel.
get, yeah. Iron Lung is true woke. No, I mean, yeah, I heard about the game only because of the guy who made the game, David Szymanski. I follow him on Twitter, and one of his other colleagues at the time. They're I think it's still in early access, but they're making a thief expired type of game. What was it called? I'm like now. I played it. I played it on a stream a long time ago. I made a clip of it, and one of them, not David, but the other one, retweeted my video, and it went a little mini viral. For me, it was viral. And I'm forgetting the name of the game, and it's really making me upset. But it was from I think New Blood was like the top producer of that game. I don't remember. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Anyways, I remember though when I didn't know much about the game. I remember it was like a streamer game. It was like it was doing the rounds.
Okay.
I think you get 10 to 12 of those a year, right? Where you and there's definitely a genre for that now. I think I remember seeing someone I think on Twitter mentioning like retweeting a gameplay of like two dudes on a log and you're running into things and people are like, oh, this is like the new genre now. It's like the game that you and your friend will buy and only play once.
Because you watch someone stream it with their buddies and you're like, oh, this would be so much fun. People like to call those friend slop, and I think that's really mean.
Yeah.
I call it streamer bait because they're not malicious games, you know what I mean? But they are games who sell off the back of Twitch streamers playing them with their friends, and their fans being like, oh my god, I could have that could be me and my friends, and then you play it once. At least the multiplayer ones, you play it like once or twice, and you're like, okay, I understand what this is.
Yeah.
But this is more of the like streamer in the sense of like, oh, I'm watching this person play this horror game and I'm experiencing it with them. Maybe I'll pick it up on a sale.
Yeah.
You know,
I didn't know, but I also didn't really know too much about it. I tried not to look up too much because I kind of wanted to go in I mean, I typically go into a lot of these as like I haven't played these games. I know, I hear about the game titles and I know loosely about them, but I don't. I try to go in kind of blind on purpose for a lot of times, just to kind of be like, all right, let's see, what this is about, because I think there's an element of when we talk about these films, we discuss about these films, and when we even rank these films, is yes, we try to rank them also, or try to keep in mind, hey, was this faithful to the video game? But also on the opposite, part of that, if you flip the coin, on the other side of the coin, there is, to me, it's like, how does it stand up as just a movie itself? Can it? That was my issue with Five Nights at Freddy's 2. It turned way too much into references and Easter eggs to people who played the game. Just cool, great for them. But as a general audience member, it made me just be like, I just feel out of touch and I don't feel invested. So going in, that's kind of where I went in, was like, all right, we'll see. Does this movie stand up by itself? Will it be just references? Like, I wasn't sure. I guess I should also add Markiplier, the streamer. I think he on Wikipedia they say Mark Fishbach. So I'm assuming, but he said Markiplier in the movie, so like I'm assuming that's the name he wanted to go with. But Wikipedia is like, oh, here's his real name. But regardless, Markiplier is the streamer. Wasn't for me when he was big at the time. Right. He comes from our era, I guess you can say, of like a little bit of that post of that like first Let's Play, but like that second wave of like Let's Players where like it was starting to be a thing, like you can do this as your job, like
right.
Era.
And a lot of those people aren't around anymore because they weren't able to make it their job, and their passion was mostly money focused. And a lot of them canceled. Neither was the case for this guy, so...
No, and I didn't really like... I mean, at the time, I was like, I find him a little cringy.
Oh, I found him obnoxious as hell. The over-the-top screaming.
But it wasn't for us, and...
It was...
But in hindsight, like, now in 2026, even before this movie, and my opinions on this movie, my opinions were like, all right, yeah, he seems... I haven't heard anything negative. Like, when I have seen him, it's been for positive things. And it's never been like, he's not a PewDiePie where, paid a guy to hold up a sign, or
the edgy dickwad stuff. Yeah.
So, I'm like, you know what? I will maybe he wasn't for me. Like his style of streaming wasn't for me, but I respect him.
True artists get only appreciated in hindsight. I will still never watch anything he ever does unless it's a video game movie. You know what I mean?
But I don't know. I've seen him in. I'll say like I watched Funhouse, and I remember he came on Funhouse, and he was obviously Funhouse's demographic was a little bit more on the edgy end, but also a little bit more older, and I found him way more endearing and funny in that atmosphere because of I think he was allowed to be that way.
Not screaming for children.
Right. But like I said, I've. Like going in, I was kind of just like neutral on him, but like leaning more positive in the sense of just like I respect what he did. Like obviously he was from an era that I grew up watching a lot of stuff online, and I knew of him through that. And he's one of the few, like you said, that hasn't been canceled or hasn't done something shitty.
That we know of.
That we know of.
Put it on a cliffhanger. We're on to you.
No, I don't. I mean, we're talking about like this is the era of Gamergate too. And like he wasn't, to my knowledge, part of all that, which I think is
sure.
I don't know. I just feel like we gotta take our wins where we can get them sometimes, and like so.
There
all that said, that's my loose knowledge of like the video game and then of Markiplier itself. And I want to preface all that when we discuss this, that when we're not like we didn't grow up watching Markiplier, and I'm sure some people who went and saw this movie, I know to even get some of these screenings done was by his fan base to like demand. For screenings.
I know people IRL that are in that demographic for sure. 100%.
Right. And there's nothing wrong with that, but I just want to preface that for when we review this, that's the context of which we're reviewing it.
And he's not the first YouTuber to like self-fund a movie in today's age. Obviously, it famously or infamously.
Fred the movie. Fred the YouTuber.
I was talking about the Angry Video Game.
Yeah, John Cena
initially. But infamously, the Angry Video Games Nerds movie.
iCarly.
Yep, Emma Stone was on an episode, and she was very funny because she was trying. She was her character was iCarly's biggest fan or whatever, and it's very funny because she's an actual movie star. No, there was a YouTuber that had a movie recently, like within the past year or so, that like was trying to get his fans to like make the movie be a thing, and I don't think it worked out. But this time it happened. But here's the thing: is the secret sauce. Video games. People care way more about video games than they do about anything else on YouTube in terms of personalities. They're more attached to that stuff. Am I extremely biased? Yeah, but I also see it. You know what I mean? Kids grow up watching these YouTube Let's Plays like we watched SpongeBob as a kid. You know what I mean? That is the entertainment, and you're more attached like to those people than just like, I'm funny. Here are me doing 6 stunts on Vine and now TikTok. You know what I mean? I edited this snake to dance. I don't know. So I think that worked out in his favor. Is my point here. And it's just same thing when we talk about Five Nights at Freddy's. Like, to us, that video game's a giant ass joke. It's a neat idea. But who the fuck cares? Well, they made 4 of them. They made more than 4. What? What? Come on. Neat idea, but come on. But we're older than that. You know what I mean? When they made the SpongeBob movie, goddamn right, the birthday party was at the SpongeBob movie in theaters. Not mine, right, but a friend's. And I was very confused why we couldn't get popcorn. Right. And then I stopped myself from saying that, though. I realized that probably would have looked very rude to ask this friend of mine's mom why we're not getting popcorn when there's like 10 of us. That's a lot of money.
Because that would have been rude.
That would have been, yeah. Granted, 4th grade. You know what I mean? You could play that off being like, oops. Anyway. Iron Lung, this movie, made its money back. We got to talk about this movie. So here's the thing. I knew nothing about this movie going in. You knew nothing about this movie going in. I want to talk positively first, because a movie like this, both in terms of the people making it, the budget it has, it's an underdog type of movie through and through, deserves to have its positives mentioned first, which is usually the opposite of what I do, or how I go about this, because I am more interested to tell you why I didn't like a thing than why I liked a thing when we're talking about things we are obligated to talk about. I thought this movie was pretty neat. I will say that. It is a bottle movie, right, in an almost literal sense. And I think a lot of that was handled very well. I think some of the visuals were kind of cool, and some of the ideas that they had work out to the benefit of what the scope is of the production, right? Certain, you see this in horror movies and whatnot, but certain objects are personified in a sense where it's like the X-ray imaging button, you know what I mean, has like an identity to it almost as like a person. The weirdly digital compass arrow, chevron thing, has almost an identity to it. The speaker, while literally speaks, takes on properties of a human. You know what I mean? There's anthropomorphize, I guess is the actual word there. Like
they're
a lot of
the
those
other
stuff
characters,
right,
like
because he's visually alone in this movie. And I thought a lot of that was done. Some things a little bit hokey. I like the letter X. I don't think that was meant to mean or symbolize anything. But when you have a big taped letter X and then you cut to a way the shot kind of makes the letter X with some lighting, you just did that to flex. Okay, fine. I don't think that meant anything.
No. It's because, guess what? You didn't stay for the end credits, but it did say Markiplier will return in Avengers.
Avengers Doomsday. Tick, tick, tick.
And he's an X-Men, actually.
Yeah, exactly.
He's going to be made of blood.
And he literally has an iron lung in the movie.
He's Iron Lung Man.
So I thought a lot of it was neat. And I will say this, Markiplier as acting in this movie, not bad. Not bad. You know what? Okay, fine. I get it. Troy Baker was a voice in the movie. Cool. He's from video games. I like him. And
I think
you
Alana
know,
Pierce was also in it because I saw she mentioned that on her Instagram, but I don't know
mm,
who, and I haven't looked it up yet, and I guess I could just do that now. But I'm assuming she's one of the voices that appears. But I saw there's a lot of like little special guest kind of stuff, but it
sure,
didn't feel that
sure.
way because of there wasn't as many voices
Right, right.
really.
And some of the voices I got confused thinking they were the same person when they were supposed to be different people. But again, staying to positives at the beginning, I want to like this movie, and I think the movie ultimately was pretty okay, in an upwards trajectory, if that makes sense. They're neat
The
ideas.
iron lung is surfacing.
Sure, sure, sure. It's a
Rising.
submersible that is desubmersiving. Um, funny, you search because I wanted to find some information on maybe the diagnostics of a submarine. You just search that, and you're gonna find a lot of stuff about the one that imploded, looking for the Titanic. That's
Here's what
hey, it's
not
a
to
funny.
do.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. So neat things about this movie. Some things I would say negatively about the movie now. Two main things here. The movie is too long. When I saw 2 hours, I'm like, considering the scope of what this production is, that's impressive. Honestly, the fact that you were able to make a 2 hour movie is impressive. I think it's a half an hour too long. I would cut out a lot in the first act. I would cut out some in the second act. I would shorten the movie down to a 90 minutes. Unfortunately, I think this movie was way too long. A lot of moments where it felt like we're kind of going through motions, no pun intended, with the ocean. And it felt.
It's blood, so actually just kidding.
Well,
Actually it's
we'll get to that
pumping.
in a second. We'll get to that in a second. There's a lot of time that didn't feel like it was used properly, and they're trying to do the thing of not having our only character verbally say everything as annoying exposition, and have you see him put things together, map out stuff, go through the motions, and figure out yourself what he is doing. But they don't commit fully to that. They have to have him say things, and I don't think that was necessarily a bad idea. Um, a lot of that stuff I would have cut, unfortunately. And the other thing, my second real only big thing here that's a negative is what the fuck happened in this movie. Unfortunately, I went into this movie again not understanding what the game was, which is fine, obviously. Grasped really quickly, oh, it's a sci-fi thing. Okay, fine, cool, I get it. And they did exposition in the beginning that was a little heavy-handed, but necessary. You could word things in a little bit more clever way to make it seem more natural, whatever. I understood what was going on, but somewhere in that first act, in all of that time I would have cut, I feel like I missed something. And we're coming to conclusions that I just don't understand. But then at the same time, a good story, whether you're being dumped into it in medias res style or what, shouldn't hold your hand and explain everything to you, a la what Netflix wants its productions to do. Have its characters state their goal, state what happens, and state the themes, through 2, 3, 4 times per movie or episode or whatever. This is like the opposite of that, almost negatively, unfortunately. But it felt like there were moments in this where I'm like, I feel like I fucking missed something because I don't get the idea that there was something I'm supposed to come to a conclusion on myself or wait for a reveal or something like that. The entire time in this movie, I'm like, I feel like I fucking missed something, man. I can't rewind this. Can't rewind this. I'll have to watch it another time and
Did you talk to
rewind
the
it.
manager?
Yeah, can you rewind this movie? Come on.
Like
Like none of
just
us
10
understand
minutes.
this.
Just 10 minutes.
I have to go to the bathroom. I missed this
Can you
part.
pause it? Could you imagine
I
if
did
that
not
was a
go
rule?
up to go to the bathroom.
They're like every time someone went up to go
Oh
to the
my god!
bathroom, they're like they would pause it.
There's an artist on Twitter named Pants. He does awesome line art, squiggly line art, kind of almost one panel or two panel kind of comic stuff. And One, it's a famous one. I'm sorry I'm bringing this up now. Of one of his old man characters buying a ticket, and the usher or whatever booth says, "Do you want to upgrade to the VIP for blah blah blah?" It gives you bathroom break privileges, and the next panel is him standing up. The movie says paused, and he's got a VIP thing, and all the other people are yelling at him to sit the fuck back down. It's the third time. Anyway, that's what I should have done. But yeah, no, I feel like I just missed something in this movie, and I just felt down about it. Being like, man, I bet I would understand this if I understood what happened. And I guarantee I didn't miss anything. There was just something about this movie that's trying to be too vague, or too, it's up to you to figure it out. Too much like that to me hurt my experience of the movie. I don't need my handheld. I don't want my handheld, but I want to know that I was able to see everything that I'm supposed to understand. You know what I mean? I want to be able to figure it out myself and not be like, ooh, about it, you know? Like, I don't know. I could keep going on. It is your turn to talk. But I'm generally okay about this movie.
All right. Yeah, I'll say
I hated it. Sorry.
Oh, this movie fucking sucked. No, I'll say I did look at the box office because it was doing really well over the weekend. Like you said, underdog story. Because I remember seeing a clip of him getting very emotional on his stream when like he got a limited theater. Like I think it was mostly like smaller independent theaters. Like I don't know how many theaters it was, but there was like a small independent where it was supposed to be like a one night only thing, and he looked up the theater, the closest one to him in his hometown. It was like completely sold out, and he was getting really emotional about that. And I'm like, that's probably an awesome feeling. Hell yeah! Like to put, it sounds like this movie was took a couple years to really. Yeah, 2023. He said he made a joke about it, or David Szymanski joked on Twitter that Markiplier will be starring in a film adaptation, and then it just kind of 2023 it just kind of actually became like, no, actually this is not a joke. But like I said, it's an underdog story. It was competing with Send Help, Sam Raimi's newest film, which I think is like, granted it is January, and people say that January is like everyone spends all their money, like the average audience spends a lot of their money in the summer and then Christmas, Thanksgiving through Christmas on movies. If like you're only going to 2 movies a year, let's say, that's the time you do it. And a lot of movies go die in January is kind of the running joke, which I think is unfair because I've seen some movies where I'm like, oh, these are pretty good. Or some movies that get Oscar like nominations and whatnot sometimes get re-releases. Or The Brutalist I saw, because it wasn't like in any theaters until it got awards. They're like, oh great, fine, it'll be here for a week in late January, here you go. I'm just happy that this underdog, like it just a story, like you said, that they're able to get screenings in not just small independent theaters, that it was able to go because it's making money. So yeah. If anything, jokes on anyone who thought that it wouldn't do anything, but it's currently made $24.9 million against a production budget of $3 million. We just reviewed Return of Silent Hill that had like a $20 million.
Silent Hill.
Return of the Silent Hills. The hills are back. This time they're mad. Just for a $3 million budget, and like it makes sense considering most of it, like you said, takes place in in one room. I did see a video after the movie of like, it was literally like a wooden box on a crane that would move around and stuff. So like anytime we see the camera move in the movie, it is actually them tilting the thing, which I'm like, respect that he's in there
falling around,
tumbling around in there. That's probably you're getting some bruises from that. But I say all this like because I said like I respect anyone who like really like puts puts a lot of passion into something and just does it, and gets past any of the roadblocks that maybe a lot of people would give up on or whatnot. And I say all that because like I generally enjoyed it for what it was. For I will grade this on a sliding scale because of everything I just said. If this was from Scorsese, I'd be like, all right, what was this, Scorsese? But
It's best work if this was him. Shots fired.
Shots fired.
I'm joking.
No, I also saw the
Right.
2 hour runtime and it did feel it, but I'm actually going to defend it. I don't think it's perfectly executed. I don't think this I'm completely saying that you're wrong, but I think to add to the psychological horror of this movie, if it was shorter, would it have felt as like setting wise, would that have felt as restrictive if it wasn't as cathartic? I think the catharticness actually adds to the I can't wait to get out of here. I'm not saying I love it 100%, but I will defend that by thinking I'm like, you know what? When I'm going back, you said Netflix and all that, where they have to keep telling you every 5 minutes what the plot is and who's doing what.
I don't know if they've started that initiative, but that is apparently the scuttlebutt. But yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I've watched stuff where it is like that, where it's like, I'm like, I get it. You're doing this because this is, you're, or like I watched the new It show and I liked it, but there were some elements with how the characters were talking where I'm like, why are you talking like that? Like, why are the kids talking like adults? And as if they're they know everything about the world.
Because all the
those
writers
kind of things.
these days are the level of young adult authors in terms of the key characters they're writing.
Or we need to keep reminding people I'm going to do this because it's the right thing to do, or whatever it is. I'm like, so on the opposite end of that spectrum, you do have something like this where some things just happen. And I do agree there's some cohesiveness issues with this, or I feel like something was shown to me, but I wasn't really sure what it was supposed to be. But then it's never showed again, so I wasn't sure if that was a reference or I was waiting for it to turn into something. Like the whole tape falling off, I thought was going to be something more. Or there was one part where a noise happens and he turns around and looks and you see a shadow, and then he goes back and look at it, and then I know he finds that one thing, but there's a couple moments, multiple times, where a noise happens and it's not fully acknowledged and we just ignore it and then we never touch it again. And I get throughout the movie it starts building up to all right, a lot of this is in his head, or the blood is doing something to him psychologically. It's poisoning his brain literally to him physically. To increase these and to affect these visions and whatnot. But I think that going back to my main point of the catharticness, I think adds to that in a more positive way than negative. Not gonna say, like I said, I don't think it's I'm 110% it was perfectly executed, but just I kind of get what they were trying to do, because I think if it happened too quick, it would have just, the atmosphere wouldn't have worked as much if it was just too quick and we got through all the things we needed to get through to have him die at the end or whatnot. If that makes sense. But I just feel like the catharticness was, because there was moments where I'm like, man, it's just how much longer we got? All right, no, never mind. There's a new thing we're doing. Okay. And I'm like, at one hand, I'm like, I'm kind of getting impatient, but I'm like, is that just because so much media nowadays and fucking TikTok and social media give me my dopamine hit every 2 seconds? And this is the opposite, where it's we're going to slow this the fuck down. We're going to really build the tension. Does it always work? No, but at least they're trying to do something that isn't just what it easily could have been, which was Five Nights at Freddy's 2. I'm going to make fun of that movie again, where we need to hit you with all the references and jokes and all that, which they missed the mark from the first movie. So I don't know. I want to give some credit for just being bold enough to be we're going to slow this down. We're going to make this a kind of a slow burn. I do agree that, like I said, there's some cohesiveness missing. I do feel like the beginning, I feel like they said something and I didn't fully register what they said, and then they just I'm SOL for the rest of the movie. Which is maybe a media literacy thing I need to work on. That I'm fine accepting that. And there's just a couple moments throughout where something would happen, like I said, a noise would happen, or someone would say something and it wasn't fully clear. And I think there's some audio balancing issues throughout this film that I think could have been better. The speaker, I get they were trying to make its damage distorted, but sometimes I legitimately could not understand what
Yeah.
was being said, and then
But the
he would
character could.
respond.
Yeah. So
And then I'm like, but what is he responding to? I do agree that his acting was, at parts I thought it was pretty solid. And other parts I was like, all right, maybe needs a little bit more energy, or why, like, I don't know. I need like, I liked that they were trying to talk about, like, okay, he's a prisoner, and I just feel like that was just kind of all right, or kind of was told that he, like, this is a punishment, and like he's just kind of accepting it. He did sign up for it, but he didn't fully sign up for it, and I just feel like that just didn't work too much for me.
yeah.
Trying to think what else. I don't know. Just like it's hard to, like, if we had it in front of us, I probably could pick out more, like, certain moments, because I saw this last week, so it's still a little fuzzy. But yeah, I mean, I like the setting though. I like the X-ray machine. I'm assuming that's in the game. And once they said, oh, this is, because it looked like X-ray, but I wasn't sure exactly what it was. And then when they had, like, like, hey, you're blasting us with radiation, I'm like, and they say it's fucking X-ray. I'm like, okay, they're being faithful to the game, it sounds like, and bringing that in, and being like, this is his main navigational tool outside of the arrows. That's cool. I really like that. And I did like how the movie progressed in a video gamey way, where he, like, would figure out a way to, like, have, like, he taped it up on there. All right, it was flashing for a bit. Then he unlocked the code thing on the little breaker there because he found something, or he realized he can reboot the engine. I'm assuming in the game you do that multiple times.
Maybe, yeah,
right?
yeah. Who knows?
So
People
I can
play
kind of
it,
see, like, how the game, like I said, I haven't played the game. I don't know how it visually looks. But I'm assuming if it's a small indie game where a Five Nights at Freddy's, like, style, in sense of, like, here are 5 things you can interact with and you unlock them as you go. And as it gets harder, you unlock more things to hopefully combat it. You just have to manage more. And I'm sure there's some replay value with that, where you can encounter different things or different things happen. I also did really like I guess the ending kind of felt very it was missing some parts. I feel like, just in terms of, it would jump to something and then something else would happen. It just didn't mesh for whatever reason. I mean, it could just been the shot selection, or just maybe we were just so used to, like, it being empty that all of a sudden once things escalated. But I did like, I will always be a sucker for, if I like my horror movies. I'm not a big, like, gore porn kind of guy, but when it's more cartoonish, I kind of dig it. Where it's, like, over the top, I do dig it. And I did like the part where he's like, all right, I'm gonna have to swim in underneath the thing,
sure.
and all the blood is rising, and I'm like,
yeah,
just from, like, someone who's watched behind the scenes of stuff like that, where it's like, it's, today we're gonna get hella gross, and, like, you just gotta do it. And I'm like, that would have been a fun thing I would love to do. I would love to be dosed in fake blood.
But they establish that the blood is boiling him and cutting him and killing him, but he needs to go through this other, like, here it was fine. I was confused at that part. Unfortunately, but they're, like you said, like, there's a lot of little things where, like, it definitely made sense to them when they made the movie, and somewhere along the lines it got lost in translation. 2 little things I just want to piggyback off the things you said. I forgot this was supposed to be a horror movie. None of this movie ever felt scary or tense to me at all. Like, I was feeling like, oh, this character is obviously tense, and the horror of being in a submersible that might run out of oxygen, definitely more so of the fear to me than if something gets you, because the only visual outside is the X-ray thing. So for the most part, as the audience, we aren't seeing outside. Granted, you can use that to the effect of making it scarier. I would argue in this movie, it did the opposite, where I felt more safe. It felt like, oh no, he's fine, even though he's not, obviously. And then 2 nitpicky things, and they're nitpicky in the sense of, like, oh, this could have been done in a way that could have added to the tenseness. Number 1, this is such a who gives a fuck nitpick, but I'm going to make it anyway. The oxygen, the rate at which it goes down is not even throughout the movie. We drop 2 pips pretty quickly. After the second pip has dropped, then there's the fire, which chews oxygen like a motherfucker, right? It's its fuel, and he puts it out, and then it takes forever for that third pip to go away. It's annoying, so I never felt like there was that tenseness. I knew, yes, we're going to be down to 1 for the climax because he's got to get out or whatever. I get that. The other, so like, but that's a whatever nitpick, but it could have been done better. You know what I mean? Maybe they just have to edit in the part where that third blip happens. They just take that
there's
and
more blips.
Move it sooner.
Maybe there's more of a blips, variation, like 5 or 6. Like, so you could,
because you could argue what because they have the visual of the elevation thing being filled with blood, the liquid blood. You know what I mean? What if it's the opposite and this thing is going down into, well, I don't know, whatever. The hardcore 4 pips of light, they're fine. It didn't work for me. The other thing too, which I'm actually surprised is the case, and I haven't never even seen this video game, let alone hearing about it until you said it was real. The X-ray imaging thing, how come that's not a resource? How come it's unlimited? Why the fuck could there just toggle it to be on all the time? There's no, like, an actual X-ray machine. I don't know how they work. Use a lot of electricity.
You have to.
I understand that, but it can't just be like, okay, it's set to just set on a timer every 5 seconds. You know what I mean? Like, there's like, yes, he ingeniously puts the tape over the thing. I get it. But there was no reason presented in the film why this thing couldn't just be designed to just be kind of constantly be doing it. Boom, boom, boom. If it was a resource, if they said you got 50 shots, make them count, then that's, kind of because he's using them to figure out mapping the tunnels and all that stuff. You know what I mean? Where it's, I don't know. Like, to me, it was used to show like the anglerfish style, like, creature thing a couple times, a skeleton or whatever. But that idea never really, I don't know, it just didn't work for me. It was a cool visual, don't get me wrong, I liked it. I talked about how we're personifying the button itself, you know what I mean, because they show that often. And even the placement of where the monitor is in relation to the camera all the time works to the budget's favor. You know what I mean? I don't really have to have a high fidelity thing there because of the harsh angle, you know what I mean, that we're seeing on that side there often. I get it, but I don't know, just the fact that it was unlimited it just got to me. I'm like, damn. Maybe I'm just like overthinking this, but like, I don't know, it was a step down for me on what it could be. I don't know.
I guess I'll say they do establish, I felt like they established that like these things are put together pretty shoddily. So like, and he's not obviously the first one that goes down there. So I feel like they're just making them quick, and it's like, you figure it out. Like, yes, it should just auto go every 5 seconds or something, but it's more of like, we kind of don't give a fuck about him. So if he dies, he dies, instead of making one really nice submarine. I guess they
go through the effort to say how expensive and they have no resources and this and that, and that's why.
What I'm saying is the resources are so bad that it's so shoddy, but they also don't give a fuck about him because he's a prisoner. Like I said, the whole prisoner dynamic I think could have been done better, in the sense of like, he didn't want to be in there, but it didn't feel like he was really like itching to get out. Like, I think it might be an acting thing right there, or dialogue thing there, where it's like, all right, if I do this, I'll get out. All right. Like, he has moments of panic, but it just didn't feel like you were being sentenced to your death. Like, and I get he was like kind of volunteered for it, but also it kind of was not, because they try to establish, and this is another thing I didn't really care for, because they only showed brief flashbacks of it, and I didn't really need the flashbacks at all. You could have left it up for us to interpret, which is that, it wasn't him who did the crime, which was blowing up something. It was actually his buddies, and he was trying to stop it. It's like, I don't need you to tell me he's a good person or not. I can still empathize with someone who is imprisoned in I don't like, even if he was a serial killer and they established that, him being inside there, I would still have a level of empathy
Well,
for a human being
right.
being sent to the bottom of. It doesn't have to be an ocean of blood. It could be the ocean. And I'd still be like, that's kind of shitty that we're testing on prisoners to go find something, and if they die,
Yeah.
it's like whatever. I think that was a miss. I think on like in terms of a theme, worrying too much
Well,
about
they
empathizing with
want
a
to have him
character.
have a character arc and growth where at the end of the movie he puts himself last. He puts the need of everyone above himself because I got the impression based off his inner thoughts from all the fucked up thing is that no, he chose to save himself over his brothers in that instance, and
Yeah,
that's what ultimately got him caught. Self-preservation,
but they also kind of make it feel
self-preservation,
like
sacrifice
he's
in
still
the
a good
end.
guy because he didn't do
Yeah,
the terrorist act or whatever it was. I don't know. It was
yeah.
just
It's have
then
your
the
cake
ending
and
of
eat
him
it too.
sacrificing himself. He's like having a dialogue with the creature or maybe it's just his self conscious. And once again, the dialogue was really muddy. And I just feel
Yeah.
like I didn't know what the full conversation was, and then I didn't know what he decided to do until he did it.
And does he really have any decisions? He's dying regardless, so he might as well get the
Saved the
box
day.
inflated so that it can float to the surface. I assume
Yeah,
that's what that whole point was. Um, yeah, and again, this movie is trying to be mystical and vague and otherworldly in a Cthulhu sense with its creature and the light and
it's very
God. And
cosmic
has it all
horror
been
kind
a
of.
lie?
Yep.
Is it just a creature down here just being like, I don't want anyone to find me. Fuck you guys. I don't know, like what, like really, what's going on? Like when they were showing the tunnels and all that, and like the image X-ray of the thing in there. And granted, scale is hard. I couldn't really tell. Is this right up to the camera, or how far is this camera? How big? I thought we're like, oh, it's blood because we're in fucking veins and arteries on some creature, and this is a dead parasite or something, and that the moon is a thing, is like an animal or whatever. No, it's blood for a reason that they might have said. I don't remember. Maybe they're just calling it blood. I don't know. It looks like blood. This is the
Blood
visual,
like. I think they
right?
do say it's
Um,
blood, like specifically
I
ocean
think
of
they say that
blood.
in the
Like
beginning.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah. But just like the thing at the end, it's cosmic horror Cthulhu like stuff is very hard to pull off. So it's not like this was, oh, you failed. You know what I mean? You just didn't succeed. So they're two different ways of looking at it. I don't think they succeeded at having their cosmic horror, their Cthulhu like thing make sense to me in the sense of I understood what happened. I don't need to understand the thing. I just was a little bit confused at what happened at the end, and it made me feel like a dummy. Like you talked about a lack of media literacy. We have media literacy, but it made me feel like I ain't got nothing. You know what I mean? I was like one of those people was like, I just don't make sense. Bad movie. That's how I kind of felt at the end. I'm like, I'm missing something. What did this fucking thing want? I like I don't know. It
I
was a
think there. I
bit.
mean,
Mm,
no, I get I agree with you with what you're saying. I mean, I'm with you where I didn't need to have my hand held or leaving some stuff up. I mean, we mentioned this in the last Silent Hill episode as well, where it's like some things are left up to the interpretation, and that's okay. But there's an art to that, and I'm not going to say I know what the balance between the two are, but there's a way to do it where, yeah, it could have multiple meanings. Maybe only the artist who did it will really know the meaning, but if someone said a different meaning, be like, yeah, sure, it could be that. Like, and with cosmic horror, right? It's at least my experience of it. Like, what makes it horrifying? It's there's details right to it that like, and being very vague because it's hard to give a specific example outside of like, all right, maybe your cosmic monster has a chain around its neck and has a key on it, and they never say anything about the key. What does the key mean? And then you start talking about the key, just using it as a shitting out fucking a stupid example, but just using that. And there's elements that I think are in there with like, why is the ocean full of blood? They don't talk about that. Like, why is that? All right, that's cool. We can discuss that.
right.
But then there's other parts where I'm like, there was little dialogue, like I said, either I couldn't hear or just it wasn't fleshed out enough, or I needed something a little bit more to kind of make my imagination go because I didn't really have I think the speaker it gave me some moments of like, all right, who is he talking to? Is it real? Is it fake? Cool.
And a part
But
there,
then
it
like
made me look like he's like, oh, so when because he has his I'm sorry to cut you off here, but it's about the speaker. He has his like nightmare thing when he's talking to the whatever, and he realizes the speaker's been disconnected, blah blah blah, and then he wakes up from all that, and the woman's on the speaker talking to him. He's like, oh, you're not real. This is in my head, and he sees the wires there. I couldn't tell, was the wire repaired? Like there was elements of it where like
no, I think
when
that
they
whole
show the weird like guy at the controls, and he's like, oh, and he grabs like a screwdriver or something to attack it. First, I'm like, okay, that's in his head. But then when like veins are holding his hands to the pipes and all that, and they say, oh, the thing's alive in here, then my brain is like, oh, all of that did happen. He is fucked up. But these things like repaired it, and there was an actual veins made a man move the submarine around and then disappeared on like I'm confused, and it's fun to be like what's real, what's fake in a movie that ultimately doesn't have stakes beyond the. I'm not like missing something in the sense of like, well, now these stakes don't matter because blah blah blah. It's all kind of a mix in there, and it's fun to be like, what happened, what didn't happen. But I felt like a dummy because of all of this, and I don't think this movie's intent was to sound like it's a smarty pants movie that's just too smart for you. I don't think that's what they were trying to do, to be some sort of pretentious thing. But I just felt stupid. I don't know.
Well, he gets the blood in his eye for the first time, and I think anything after that, until he like re-wakes up again, is not real. That's how I interpreted it. Like the whole like any actions, anything he does, pretty much is just him hallucinating. Maybe he does some actions, but like it's very limited. Like him talking to the thing, I don't think it happens at all. Or I can kind of interpret it as like the blood is all symbiotic, or at least is all connected to each other. So like once it gets in his bloodstream, the thing he's talking to is the creature. So like I said, maybe this is a credit to the movies that we're able to like be like, oh, what is it? Is it this or that? I don't think it, like I said, I don't think it hits on every element like we were talking about with Cosmic Horror, where it's hard to pull off. I think there's some good mysterious stuff, and there's some parts where it's, like you said, it maybe worked for them when they were making the script and they went through the table read, and it was like because they all understood the game, or they had additional dialogue outside of the script to be like, yeah, this all makes sense. I don't know if they had test audiences and stuff like that. That's sometimes why studios have test audiences for things, to be like, hey, we had this scene in here. Does this make sense? Oh, no, it doesn't. All right, we're going to cut it. Or we need to change this up, or we need to reshoot this.
Everyone says they can't understand Bane. Better raise his voice up an octave or two. Now he's Mickey Mouse.
But like I said, I think it's very bold, and I do really respect that, because how many video game movies we watched where it's
we
like,
don't respect it. Yes.
Well, yeah, I mean more like
I'm joking. I'm with you. I'm with you.
But either they try to do nothing like the game, or if they do their own thing, it just doesn't, it just doesn't work, or they're trying to do too much and too little, when this felt like, all right, we know what the scope is going to be. I don't know. I mean, I don't know how often. I mean, I don't think it's often in general that directors go in with the intent of, all right, this movie's got to be 3 hours. That's the job of the producer, executive producer, usually. So they might have filmed it. It might be a 2.5 hour cut for all we know, and they may have already cut 30 minutes. We don't know. So like, I kind of agree with you. Like maybe shaving a little bit off. I don't know if I would shave a full 30, like you're saying. I would say maybe like 15. I think there's some parts where he talks to the speaker maybe just a little too long, because it just isn't fully clear anyways, at some parts, or some of the weird like noises stuff that happens that isn't really fully explored, in like I said, it doesn't feel as fleshed out in that regard. I don't know, it's an interesting film though, nonetheless. I do, like I said, there's a lot I like about it and I respect about it. And it's hard for me to critique this because of just it was made on a freaking $2 million budget and out of just freaking passion. You know what I mean? And it's just kind of hard to like, yeah, man, if you had maybe some acting coaches to help. Maybe you probably would have to pay for that. Or
Maybe
if
they
you
did.
had, I will say the cinematography was pretty good for someone's first bout at directing. So I think he might have. I will say this: like I read, I can't find the video game, but it sounds like he wants to do another video game adaptation of some sort.
Oh,
All
interesting.
power, all power to him. But if you wanted to do just regular, get into Hollywood and do stuff, I think he has potential in some different avenues. I don't, whether it's being behind the camera or if he wants to continue acting, I think he can grow on that, obviously. But if he has the passion for it, and he, if this was his way of taking a stab in the dark to try it, I hope it continues because like I said, like I don't know. There's Uwe Bolls of the world, and
Well,
they don't deserve it. So,
yes.
and I'm like, I'd rather have another Markiplier movie than another Uwe Boll movie.
Yeah, but one's more entertaining in a more fun way, you know. You know, we get to.
I'd have 10 Iron. I'll watch Iron Lung 2,000 times before I watch Postal ever again.
I'll watch
any
neither
movie
again, but
really.
you know that's how I am. With movies, I've watched the Sonic movie more than anything else in my life, my adult life at the very least. Yeah, we gotta rank this thing now. I will say, it sounds like we're both really on the same page. You said multiple times you agree with me 100%. No disagreements. So we're,
Nope.
I basically just copy paste my voice, Ethan, and when you edit this onto whenever Devin's mouth starts to move, just paste my speech again, because we're that in sync.
I'm gonna send you into the Iron Lung. I'm gonna make my own
Jesus,
Iron Lung, and I'm gonna send you
cool.
down
I'm
in there.
killing myself in there, so that's how it is. Yeah, no, it's hard. It's hard to make. Oh, the idea of a horror movie in a submarine, that would have sounded like a no-brainer, but the way they did it to me felt like, well, they're not just gonna kill him early in the movie, so he's fine. You know what I mean? When the stakes are only just his own safety, it's like, well, no, they're not gonna kill. He's fine until the end of the movie. I'm sure whether what happens to him in the end is one thing, but it's not like he needed to save someone, or you know what I mean? Like
Well,
where
and then
there's
that's what
stakes
makes
we
it
would care
different with the
about.
video game, where it's like I'm sure you can die
Yeah,
and you have to
yeah,
start from scratch.
right.
So
Yeah, exactly. And hey, that's the one thing that like people may or may not understand about horror video games is like, yes, give. There was a trend, and Five Nights at Freddy's is within this trend. Um, horror games in which the trend was horror games which you are not fighting back. It's about running. It's about hiding. It's about blah blah blah. And my argument is what makes those less scary. They're scary in the streamer jump scare YouTuber era. I get it. Makes them less scary than a Silent Hill 2. Still holding this. It's been a week or whatever. Still holding this. Is that like, yes, when you're fighting it, when there's combat, and you can die because of your actions like that, and when there's like it's not auto saving and you lose time, you're like fuck, I don't want to die. I have actual consequences when that happens. Therefore, things become more scary because of it. I've said many times on this channel, on this podcast, me playing Metroid Prime as a kid, not a horror game at all, but there are save rooms, and when I'm going through areas on low health and I don't know what's ahead of me, and I don't know when the next save room is, I am getting scared when I turn the corner and see aliens, regardless of if they're shooting at me or not. You know what I mean? Like,
I definitely think
horror
that
games
works
are
the
like
best
that.
with video game for sure. Like you need to have
I don't just want to run away from something all
stakes.
the time,
Yeah,
because then
you have to
whatever.
create stakes in a different way. I think. I mean, when it comes to horror movies, it's like a little bit more. I mean, obviously they have a longer history than video games do, so there's like been different attempts at different ways of
Not
scaring
until I get my
audiences.
time machine.
Where you have you have your slashers where, hey, what's the most fucked up way we can kill somebody? That's
Right.
scary to some people. Or paranormal is like, oh, you know what's scary? The things just inside your own home. If your home, your
Right.
safety, your place of safety all of a sudden becomes unlivable. What does that feel like? And like I mentioned, gore porn. I feel like there was a little bit of I feel like I wouldn't be surprised if he likes, old Evil Dead, for example. It felt
I had that
cartoonish
that Raimi with the thick blood, made me think of
yeah.
Raimi. I mean, not
But
even
like
watch those movies. I
or
got
Peter
that.
Jackson's early work with like Dead
Right.
Alive, where it's it's so over the top, but it's kind of gross, and like that's its own type of
Splat
horror, right?
stick, I
So
believe, is what people call
yeah.
those.
So there's like, there's different ways always to go about horror, and I feel like they tried to go the psychological lens. Like I said, I don't think it fully worked for me. I wasn't like scared to that. I like watching my atmospheric, more thriller, which I would put this in that closer to that category. Movies like Hereditary, Midsummer, The Witch, any of those kind of movies. The psychological like element, it's tough to do because you need great sound, you need great cinematography, you need creepy shit to look at, and uneasiness to establish. I think they tried. I do think they tried. Does it fully hit? No, but I do respect what they tried. And like I said, I do think the catharticness, what I think was the right direction. Just they need to find ways to make that catharticness amplified, not just through length, but also through what is the experience. And he has moments of it. They have moments of it, but it needed to be, I think probably by the halfway mark, it needed to be like every 10 minutes needed to be like some new thing. And I'm not trying to say go back to I know I had my argument saying everything needs to be constantly hitting all the time. I meant just like it doesn't need to be every 10 minutes needs to be like a big jump scare, but more of just like a new element needs to be thrown in there. And it could be something subtle. It can be, I don't know, just like I think you have to layer it like a sandwich. You have to start just adding.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
yeah.
But no, I agree with what you said on video games. And like I said, I think it was trying to do more of like the psychological horror. And it's hard to give it a grade, but on that front,
but
like
we're
I said, we're going to try. But,
well, what do you think? What do you think? Both like we're grading this on the video game movie curve, and much like last week, I'm just gonna speak for both of us. I think we both really wanted to like this movie. You know what I mean? And there were things to like about it. There's a lot of amateurishness about the production in a literal sense, right? So you see those things that presumably, having not done this ourselves, you learn over time throughout your own production methods and whatnot, how to do things quote unquote better. I would just point out, just because this is an underdog story doesn't earn it a higher letter grade than what it normally would be. I don't think that's entirely fair to all the other movies. Because if we want to be like that, guess who has a low budget on a lot of his movies and is technically an underdog in terms of Hollywood? It's Uwe Boll. You know what I mean?
But I will say I feel like we do say that, which is the foundation of this podcast, which is the Sonic movie. We went in with this movie's going to be dog shit, and we put it pretty high. And I think an element to that, we could say we didn't, but I think there's an element of the Cinderella story, the underdog story with the Sonic movie that they're like, yep, we're gonna redo it, and like, because even if they redid it, there was still a shot that we were like, this movie could still be just bad, like just on just a surface level, just like this movie's gonna.
Yeah, but we weren't going into this movie thinking, oh man, this is gonna be a trash fire. We're like, oh, this could just not be good.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I'm just gonna say I think we could say that, but at the end of the day, it's like we're gonna have our biases or expectations no matter what when we go into something, and it is always gonna, I think, affect our ranking. Because yeah, if this was a $300 million budget James Cameron produced movie,
10 out of 10,
and we watched that, we'd be like, what the heck, He
should do a submarine.
I mean, it just
movie.
Is what it is.
Has he? Oh, sorry, I'm getting off.
I mean, I guess he did. Titanic. I mean, he did.
Well, I mean, because he's gone down to the Titanic more than any other person. Right. I feel like. So
I guess that indirectly is a submarine-made movie, but
okay. Well, I will just say.
I'll say this. I think this is a C. I'm on the higher end of C. I liked this more than some of the more recent movies for the show we've seen.
5 Minutes of Freddy's too.
Oh, fucking bro! I think we should give that lower. The more I think about it,
we gave it an E. So, did you want to give that an F?
I guess we can't. No, that's rude. That
one of these days, we kind of got to give something an F.
I want to. I mean, I hope we just don't. I don't want to, because that means we're watching dog shit, and I don't want to.
Yeah, well, we did with that movie. So,
not just dog shit, just
I'm
like
with you on
crimes
C.
against
I'm with
humanity.
you. I'm with you on C. I'm with you.
I'm gonna
on C.
hire C. What I was saying all this because I was like, I think there's some generally minor things that I could have maybe convinced myself for like a lower B to get to that B ranking. But we got to be honest. We got to be real. This is a C. I will say if Markiplier, like I said, if Markiplier wants to continue doing these video game adaptations,
I thought you were gonna say
he
if
might
he wants
get a
to
bigger
come on the
budget.
show.
If he wants to come on the show, whatever, he wants to come on the S Rank, the podcast, and rank video game adaptation. I don't know. We'll find something.
Clips of
sure.
him screaming on YouTube. That's what
Sure.
we'll rank.
Sure.
No, we're not doing that.
But for real, like I would say higher C, and I think like I'm intrigued. I'm intrigued for what he could do next if he wants to do anything next. I don't know. I mean, shit, he's making like 7 times his money of his investment, so good for him, at least on that front. So, I did. Oh, I forgot to mention, I did see. Well, actually, you say your ranking first. I want to share this one funny tweet.
Also see. Yeah, I agree.
Cool.
I agree. All the same reasons. Because like this movie wasn't again D a big keyword we associate with D, whether or not that's the sole reason it's there, is boring. And this movie wasn't boring. It was confusing, but in a way that made me intrigued, if not maybe a little bit frustrated. And I feel like that's not enough to drag it down to a D. There would be a lot more to like about it. Have a lot of the rough edges of this were sanded, you know. But it is what it is, and it's a C.
Well, next time when they do the sequel, it'll be
the sequel,
and they'll have a iron lung in an iron lung while he's in an iron lung, like the tuberculosis one.
And then they'll do the SpongeBob parody with the iron butt. Remember that episode?
Right. And then Iron Man will come in and be like, "I need you to join the new
I'm
Iron
all of
division."
that together. Yes.
And then Hearts of Iron video game adaptation will also happen and somehow tie into all this, into our bigger, larger video game movie universe that we've always pitched and are very clever for pitching.
And then Shaquille O'Neal will star in the DC movie Steel, and that will usurp all of the iron buildup that we've had in cinema.
And then
what's your fun fact?
Reagan will say, "Tear down the wall." I just saw this tweet and
passing out crack.
And I know like why these guys talking about Twitter all the time. I get it. Too bad. That's all we got. Okay. I don't know. I'm not gonna say their name, but
it's pretty entertaining these days.
It is. I'll just say a user, who's I guess some YouTuber. I don't know. What does it matter? Doesn't matter. They retweeted discussing film, a Twitter account that usually, says box office stuff and movie news, whatever. I follow them.
They're a take it or leave it, a Twitter account. It was on one hand, I'm like, shut the fuck up. The other hand, I'm like, well, you are providing a service to me because I'm not looking up this on my own.
Yeah, but they wrote Sam Raimi's Send Help has opened with $20 million domestically, biggest opening of 2026 so far. And I did see this before, so I'm going to mention what the quote tweet is, but I did see this, and even Forbes did an article about it. So basically, the quick high-level notes is, for some reason on the box office report, the Iron Lung wasn't like listed at all, and even Markiplier did a video where it was like, "Oh, on Friday we were number 1," and like I was expecting to go down, but like he's like, "I'm just not on the list," and like the bottom of the list is only making like $500,000. He's like, Hamnet, which has been out of theaters for like 2 months, somehow made more. He's like, I don't know what's happening here. He's like, it's all good. I was just like, was there an error? He's like, or my movie is just being taken out of the theater? I'm very confused. Like he was having fun with it, but then some of the people. So, anyways, I'm saying all this because this was like a thing, and so that was the tweet, and then the quote tweet to that was this guy saying, Iron Lung got 21.7 million. Yet they took it off the charts because Hollywood is embarrassed that a real passionate person beat them. That is sad. And like everyone just was chewing them out, being like, bro thinks Sam Raimi isn't a passionate filmmaker. Like they're like, and the guy's like, oh, I didn't mean I like Sam Raimi. It's like, well, dude, the way you worded it in the quote tweet was saying that like, nope, everyone in Hollywood sucks except for my favorite YouTuber, Markiplier. And I'm just like,
yeah, I mean,
shut the fuck up. Like,
it's both are. Hey, my scope is so narrow on this on the world, whatever. Like I only watch YouTube, blah blah blah
Yeah.
blah blah. So therefore, yes, like you can easily get into that conspiracy theory without understanding. Like, yeah, there was just a clerical error. You know what I mean? Like, it's
It wasn't
not
malicious.
small enough to be a whatever, and made
Because I
more
don't
money
think the
than Melania
average.
ever did. In the
Right, and I
box
don't think the
office.
average person looks at the box office and says, "Wow, this is getting a lot of money. I should go see it." No, what they do is be like, "Hey, I heard this movie's good. You should go see it." That's what happens 90% of the time. Or they get marketed on social media or television for the trailer, and they're like, "Oh yeah, it looks cool." It's that or word of mouth. Word of mouth marketing to this day, I still think is the biggest driver of movies, or seeing people putting butts into seats. Barbenheimer was a perfect example of that. It wasn't, because people say it was all big marketing. I'm like, no, because people were like, hey, it started off as a joke on like online, and then people were like, yeah, fuck it, I'm gonna make a day out of this. Me and my friends are gonna do that. And then of course the marketing, expanded on it, but because if that was the case, we've already seen attempts by different marketing like
Yep.
production companies to try to do that. I already saw they were trying to do that with Dune and Avengers, and even my goat Timothy Chalamet was trying to say something. I'm like, Timothy, no, you have to have the killer instinct. If you want to be the goat, say fuck you, Robert Downey, fuck you, Avengers. My Dune is killing your Avengers. Don't do this Dune Avengers. No, it's time to take the mantle. All right, it's time to kill Disney once and for all. Let's do it, boy. All right, let's get in there, my goat. All right, boy, was I mad when I saw that. It's like when LeBron trying to be like, oh, it's just basketball. No, dude, it isn't just basketball. It's his
There's
legacy.
money on the line. Oh, legacy, right?
There's, right. Did I have 100K on the the Lakers winning winning it all? Yes, but it's just coincidental.
Well,
No,
I
but like
didn't
I just
do
thought that was funny.
Barbenheimer, but I will be there for Avengers Doomsday. Mark my words. No, I won't
All
actually see
right,
Dune, and I
Doomsday.
probably won't see Avengers right away either. I'm curious. Morbid. I'm gonna see that Avengers movie, but like not because of
I still say the
anything.
Dune movies are the science fiction to that level of the Lord of the Rings movies, and people not seeing it in theaters is doing a disservice. That's just my
A
hot take.
Dune service.
You're doing yourself a Dune service.
Yeah, I don't know. I might like it. I just have no interest. I'm sorry. You haven't converted me. That's how much you failed as a Dune fan. And on that note, folks, well, what an episode, what a day. A sea under the sea, a red sea, a scarlet letter. This has been the Sonic Movie Show.
Parting the Red Sea.
Yes, Moses. Sea?
Was Moses should have been a cameo in this movie. That'd been funny.
He was the fish at the
He
end.
takes a picture and he's like splattered on the side of the camera, and then he's gone after
I mean,
you ran into him.
do we know what he was like, what he looked like?
Well, they could
You
have
know what I mean?
just broke it and make it look like, I know it's supposed to be a skeleton, but like he could have been holding the book or something. I don't know. That said
Anyway,
Moses.
subscribe to the YouTube channel if you're watching this by clicking that button. Over there is something else. If you're listening to us on audio platforms, thank you. And hey, we're on YouTube at srankproductions, and we would love if you hit subscribe. I'm getting 50 lashes, and if we don't hit 800 subscribers by the end of this year. And David's going to do far worse to me, too. And Devin
I'm
is
going
there.
in the Iron Lung.
He's going in the Iron Lung. He's going in the Iron Lung. But we don't have a red blood sea. We'll use my tears instead. Thank you for watching, folks.
It's gonna be Kool-Aid. It's gonna be a bucket of Kool-Aid. Big
Ooh,
bowl.
it's like when we used to have an above ground pool at my dad's house,
and you poured all the sugar in it.
There was, the cover was over it on a hot summer's day, and we had solar panels to heat the pool or whatever, and both of those things combined, I took that. I was like 12 or whatever. Start to take the cover off. Green Kool-Aid water, the most like. There's no physical algae. It's all dissolved into the water. It's just a solid like green. Oh
You
man.
created
Oh
an
man.
entity of.
I don't think I ever swam in the pool after seeing that. I feel like it was just like, well, I think it's just done for the summer because we don't know how to clean this.
radioactive.
Yeah. Thank you for watching. Take care of yourselves. And as always,
Test your lungs out.